Alam mo na ngayon kung paano mag-compute ng estate tax para sa mga residents and citizens ng Pilipinas. Mapunta naman tayo ngayon doon sa mga non-resident alien dissidents. Kung maaalala mo, ang mga non-resident alien dissidents ay tinatax lamang sa mga properties na located sa Pilipinas. Yung pagko-compute ng estate tax para sa mga non-resident alien dissidents o NRAD ay parang kapareho lang ng sa mga residents and citizens ng Pilipinas. Meron lang tayong konting tweaks na i-apply na para sa kanila lang. At ito yung mga dapat mong tandaan para sa mga NRAD. Una, yung mga properties lang na nasa Pilipinas ng mga non-resident alien dissidents ang subject to estate tax. And furthermore, meron tayong pinag-uusapang reciprocity pagdating sa kanila. Kung babalikan mo yung BT gross estate na discussion, ang reciprocity ay nag-a-apply lang para doon sa mga intangible personal properties ng mga NRAD. So, ano nga ba ulit ang ibig sabihin ng reciprocity? Again, ang ibig sabihin ng reciprocity, okay, na kapag ang ibang bansa, tinatax nila ang intangible personal property ng mga resident at citizen ng Pilipinas, ganun din yung gagawin natin sa mga intangible personal properties ng mga NRAD galing sa bansang iyon. Kung ano yung treatment sa bansang iyon ng mga intangible personal properties ng mga resident and citizen ng Pilipinas, same lang ang application na gagawin ng Pilipinas doon. Kapag merong reciprocity clause, okay, kapag meron or with the reciprocity clause, hindi natin isasama ang intangible personal properties ng mga NRA sa kanyang gross estate dito sa Pilipinas. Dahil ang ibig sabihin nun, yung mga residents and citizens ng Pilipinas na may intangible personal properties sa ibang bansa, okay, na pinanggalingan ng NRAD na pinag-uusapan natin, hindi rin isinasama yung mga intangible personal properties ng mga residents and citizens doon. Yun ay kapag may reciprocity. Kapag wala namang reciprocity, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung mga intangible personal properties ng mga NRAD dito sa Pilipinas ay isinasama sa pagko-compute ng gross estate dahil yung mga intangible personal properties ng mga Pilipino sa pinanggalingang bansa ni NRAD ay isinasama din sa pagko-compute ng kanilang gross estate doon. Kaya ang lagi lang tatandaan, kapag may reciprocity or with the reciprocity, hindi yun kasama. At kapag wala namang reciprocity, isasama. Save those intangible personal properties. Ang natitira na lang doon ay real properties at tangible personal properties. Tama ba? Naaalala mo ba yung table ng properties doon sa gross estate? Dahil yung pangatlo dyan na yung intangibles, di ba? Tangible personal properties. Ito ay personal. Ayan. So, save dito sa intangible personal properties na subject to reciprocity. Dito sa dalawang to, ang consideration lang ay dapat nasa Pilipinas. Kaya ganun lang kasimple yung pag-identify ng mga properties para sa non-resident alien dissidents. Mapunta naman tayo doon sa deductions. Siyempre, may inaalaw pa rin yung batas natin ng mga deductions mula sa gross estate ng isang NRAD para mag-arrive doon sa net taxable estate. Una na dyan ay yung standard deduction. Oo, may standard deduction din ang NRAD, pero sa pagkakataong ito, 500,000 lang ang standard deductions compared doon sa residents and citizens na magkano nga ulit yun? 5 million pesos. Dito sa NRAD, 500,000 pesos lang. Ang isa pang type ng deductions na allowed para sa mga NRAD ay ito. Proportion of total losses and indebtedness which bears to the value of entire gross estate. At kasama dito yung claims against the estate, claims against insolvent persons. Apologies. Insolvent persons. Okay? And unpaid mortgages, taxes, and casualty losses. So, sir, anong ibig sabihin yan? Ang ibig sabihin yan, inaalaw ng batas itong mga deductions na ito para sa NRAD. However, pero, proportion lang ng mga ito ang allowed. Proportion, ibig sabihin, hindi buo. Mamaya, malalaman mo kung paano i-compute yung proportion na yon at kung ano yung magiging formula para dyan. Another one ay yung mga properties previously taxed or vanishing deductions. Okay? Vanishing deductions. At yung transfers for public use. And then, itong panghuli, incidental. Ibig sabihin incidental, kapag ka single, wala. Pero kapag married, meron. Net share of the surviving spouse in the conjugal property or community property. Save those sa mga exceptions na sinabi natin kanina, okay, para sa mga parts ng gross estate at dun sa mga ordinary deductions, halos pareho na lang rin ang pagkukompute ng estate tax para sa NRAD compared doon sa mga residents and citizens. Ngayon, subukan natin itong practice problem na pinagbibidahan ni Jane Johnson. Okay, so let me read first the problem, okay, bago mo subukang sagutan. Jane Johnson, a married resident and citizen of US. Sabi dyan, married daw, married. And the resident and citizen of US died with the following properties which are all common properties with her husband. Okay, first, house and lot in US, family home, 15 million pesos. Vacant lot in the Philippines, 1 million pesos. Car in the Philippines, 1.5 million pesos. Personal properties of 4 million pesos, which 25% is located in the Philippines. Unpaid mortgages, 600,000 pesos. Accrued taxes prior to death, 200,000 pesos. And lastly, due to a close relationship with the locality where she resides in the Philippines, Jane decided to donate the vacant lot in the Philippines to the barangay where it is located as designated in her will. Kung gusto mo munang subukang isolve ang problem na ito on your own, please feel free to pause the video. Kung hindi naman, okay, let's proceed to the solution. Magandang alamin muna natin, okay, kung ano yung mga properties subject to estate tax at kung ano naman yung hindi. Ang ibig sabihin nun, alamin muna natin kung ano yung mga nasa Pilipinas lang at kung ano yung mga nasa abroad. Okay, so ito yung mga properties ni Jane Johnson. Unang sinabi doon yung house and lot. Sinabi doon na nasa ibang bansa, ayon, 15 million. Kaya, nandito siya sa column ng abroad. Meron daw siyang vacant lot sa Pilipinas. Within the Philippines, 1 million pesos. Ito yon. Tapos, meron din siyang kotse sa Pilipinas na nagkakahalaga na 1.5 million pesos. Ito yon, 1.5. Tapos, meron daw siyang personal properties na totaling 4 million pesos. Okay? Yung 25% daw nun, nasa Pilipinas, 1 million. At yung 3 million, nasa abroad. Kung total natin, lahat ng properties niya sa Pilipinas ay 3.5 million pesos. Lahat nung nasa abroad ay 18 million pesos. At in total, lahat ng properties niya within the Philippines and in abroad ay 21,500,000. 3.5 plus 18 equals 21,500,000. Again, sa lahat na solve mo, please, i-counter check mo dito. 15 million plus 1 million plus 1.5 million plus 4 million is equals to 21,500,000. Sir, kailangan pa bang alamin yan, sir? Hindi ba't sabi mo sa amin lahat lang ng properties within the Philippines ni NRAD ay yung subject to estate tax? Bakit kailangan pa nating malaman yung properties niya abroad? Yung properties niya combine the Philippines and those in abroad. Okay, balikan natin yung discussions kanina. Meron tayo mga proportionate deductions at ito ay magagamit natin doon. Yan. So, in-identify na natin kung ano yung mga properties within the Philippines ni Jane Johnson. 3.5 million in total base dun sa computation natin na kinocomprise ng vacant lot na 1 million, yung car daw na nasa Pilipinas 1.5 million, at yung personal properties 25% ng 4 million, which is 1 million pesos, totaling 3.5 million pesos. So, at ito na nga yung sinasabi natin na mga allowed deductions pero proportionate. Dito na natin magagamit yung kinompute natin kanina na mga properties ni Jane Johnson worldwide. Ang lagi mo lang tatandaan sa pagkukompute ng proportionate allowed deductions na ito ay yung formula na ito. Okay? Yung gross estate Philippines ng resident over yung gross estate world niya. Gross estate world multiplied doon sa mga allowed deductions doon sa tatlo: claims against the estate, claims against insolvent persons, at yung mga mortgages, indebtedness, casualty losses, etc. Okay? And in this case, ay nagtototal kay Jane Johnson ng 800,000. 600,000 plus 200,000. 800,000, okay? Review, balikan, 600,000 doon sa mortgage at 200,000 doon sa unpaid taxes. Pero burahin natin yan kasi hindi naman kasama sa formula yan. Ayan. Okay. So, magkano daw yung gross estate? Okay. Gross estate ni Jane Johnson sa Pilipinas. Ito, 3.5 million pesos. In this case, 3.5 million. Tapos, yung gross estate world niya. Balikan natin kung magkano yung gross estate world niya. Yung 3.5 million sa Pilipinas plus 18 abroad equals 21.5 million pesos. Yan. Okay, so makukompute na natin yung proportionate deductions. Dito sa example ko, ni-round off ko na lang yung ratio ng gross estate Philippines sa gross estate world. Kaya lumabas na rate doon sa akin ay 16%. Okay, multiply natin doon sa 800,000, okay, na mga deductions na proportionate to arrive at doon sa ating proportionate allowed deductions na 128,000 pesos. Sunod na doon yung transfers for public use. Again, itong transfers for public use na to, okay, ay hindi proportionate, full amount. At yung property na doon na ita-transfer ay itong vacant lot na ito. Okay? So, that is 1 million pesos. Next naman, yung share of spouse in net common properties. Again, sabi sa problem, si Jane Johnson daw ay married at lahat ng properties na nilista natin kanina ay common properties. Ibig sabihin, itong gross estate Philippines niya, meron diyang cut yung kanyang asawa. At paano nga ulit natin kukumputin yon? Okay? So, yung gross estate less yung mga ordinary deductions. And in this case, 3.5 million yung kanyang gross estate minus yung proportionate allowed deductions na 128,000 minus yung transfers for public use na 1 million pesos. Ang basis natin para doon sa share of surviving spouse ay 2,372,000 pesos divided by 2 to arrive at 1,186,000 pesos. And lastly, for our example, ang huling deductions para kay Jane Johnson ay yung standard deduction. Again, meron pa ring standard deduction ang mga NRAD na 500,000 pesos. Compared sa mga residents and citizens, mas mababa ito. Okay, dahil yung sa mga residents and citizens ay 5 million pesos. So, compute na natin yung net taxable estate ni Jane Johnson. 3.5 million minus allowed deductions na proportionate 128,000 pesos, transfers for public use 1 million, Share of surviving spouse, 1,186,000 and standard deduction na 500 to arrive at the net taxable estate na 686,000 pesos. Apply natin yung 6% na tax rate, okay, to arrive at the estate tax due of 41,160 pesos. Ilagay natin side by side, okay, yung mga deductions para kay citizens and residents and para kay NRA para ma-compare mo kung ano ba yung differences nila. Una, sa claims against the estate, claims against insolvent persons and unpaid mortgages, taxes, and casualty losses. Itong tatlong to, full lahat yan sa citizens and residents. Pero pagdating kay NRA, sabi nga natin ito ay prorated. Again, ang formula para sa prorated amount na ito ay ang gross estate Philippines over gross estate world times yung total nitong tatlong ito. Okay? To arrive doon sa allowed deductions ni NRA na prorated. Next ay yung vanishing deductions. Okay? Next topic natin yan. Basta dito sa vanishing deductions, pareho silang full. Okay? Parehong full. Next, yung transfers for public use. Full amount din yan. Full amount. Yung amounts received by heirs under RA 4917, full kay residents and citizens, pero none. Again, none kay NRA. Next ay yung family home. Again, sa citizens and residents, 10 million yan. Pero, doon sa mga NRA, wala. Sir, bakit wala? Kasi kung may family home sila dito sa Pilipinas, malamang hindi sila mako-consider na non-resident. Kung ang family home nila ay nasa Pilipinas, most likely na ang kanilang classification ay resident aliens. Okay? Kaya, walang family home allowance sa mga NRA dahil hindi naman sila dito nagre-reside. Next ay yung standard deduction. 5 million para sa citizens and residents at 500,000 para sa mga NRA. And lastly, net share of surviving spouse. Okay? Full amount. Full amount. Sir, paulit-ulit ka nung vanishing deductions sa mga previous discussions natin. Sa residents and citizens, sinabi mo na yan. Sa NRA, sinabi mo na yan. Sabi mo full amount pa. Sir, di pa naman namin alam kung paano computing yan. So ngayon, ayun na yung i-discuss natin. Kung ano, yung vanishing deductions at kung paano yun computin. So ano nga ba yung vanishing deductions? Ito yung vanishing deductions. These are consideration given on properties received through inheritance or donation by the decedent several years before death. Yan, lagyan natin ng diagram para mas maintindihan mo. Ang sabi dito, sa vanishing deductions, halimbawa, ito yung timeline. Okay? Timeline ng buhay ni decedent at ito yung time of death niya. Ito, before death, ito after. Tama ba? After. Okay. Sabi dito, maaari daw na makareceive si decedent ng property several years before his or her death, in particular 5 years, okay, through inheritance or donation. At dahil itong mga properties na ito ay subject to estate tax if through inheritance or donor's tax kapag ka donation, noong natanggap ni decedent, binibigyan ng consideration ng government na itong mga properties na to, okay, magkaroon ng additional deductions para maiwasan yung too much burden doon na related sa properties na yon. Kasi imagine, kung dito sa time na to, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 years before decedent's death, na-receive niya to dito, meron niyang donor's tax or estate tax. Tapos dito, sa time na to, meron na namang estate tax. Okay? So, ang purpose ng vanishing deductions ay para mabawasan yung burden ng pagta-transfer ng properties na yon. Okay? So, ano yung mga kondisyon ng isang property bago ma-consider yung mga vanishing deductions. Okay? So, itong mga conditions na to must all be satisfied. Again, must all be satisfied para magkaroon ng qualified vanishing deductions. Una, the property was received through inheritance or donation 5 years prior the death of decedent. Again, dapat daw natanggap through inheritance or donation 5 years prior the death of decedent. 5 years bago mamatay yung current decedents. Next, yung properties daw ay dapat nasa Pilipinas at the time of current decedent's death. Next, sabi nga natin na yung mga properties na daw yun ay na-receive through inheritance or donation. Kaya dapat yung mga properties na yun, okay, ay kasama doon sa taxable estate ng decedent na pinanggalingan or dapat duly paid yung donor's tax nung property na yun nung na-receive ni current decedent if yun ay donation. Next, yun nga, sabi natin, dapat kung kasama dito sa mga pagpapile ng taxable estate at taxable gift ng donor, dapat yung akibat na tax nun ay bayad din. Next, property subject to VD must be identified as the one received or something acquired in exchange for it. Ang ibig sabihin yan na kung yung property daw na yon, okay, ay yung pagbabasihan ng vanishing deductions, una, dapat yung property na yun mismo, yung natanggap ng current decedent. Okay, or kung hindi naman, yung property na meron ngayon si decedent ay nakuha in exchange doon sa properties na nakuha niya through inheritance or donation. At panghuli, not allowed if prior decedent already claimed VD. Okay? Kung naguguluhan ka, don't worry. Bibigyan natin ng example yan. Yan. So, para hindi ka masyadong malito, lagyan natin ng examples yung mga situations kung saan pwede or hindi pwede maglagay ng VD. First example, AA died and left the house and lot to his son B. After 2 years, the house was ravaged by fire and left BB dead. Okay, so dito daw, si BB ay naka-inherit ng house and lot and then after 2 years, namatay siya. Dito sa first example natin, okay, with VD yan. With VD. Lagyan na lang natin ng check. Example number 2. CC received a car as a gift from her grandfather for her 30th birthday. Ayan, through donation. However, after a year, she exchanged it for a piece of land where she dreams to have a house on. Also considering that she already has a car prior to the donation. Unfortunately, CC died 3 years after that property exchange. Yan. So, tingnan natin. Naka-receive daw siya ng car through donation. Okay? Tapos, namatay siya 4 years after ng donation kasi 1 year after donation, pinagpalit niya yon at after niya ipagpalit, after 3 years na ipagpalit, namatay siya within 5 years. Pero pwede ba yon? Kasi sabi dito, yung kotse pinagpalit niya sa lupa. Pwede niya bang kunin yon as vanishing deductions? Basahin ulit natin tong pang 2, 3, 4, 5, pang 5 bullet. Property subject to VD must be identified as the one received or something acquired in exchange for it. Meaning, since yung kotse, pinagpalit niya sa land, yung land, pwede niya pa rin gamitan ng vanishing deductions kasi yung ginamit niya pang acquire dun sa land na yon ay yung kotse na kanyang na-inherit. So, for this example, yes, meron pa rin vanishing deductions na makukuha si CC. Third example, Mr. DD died and left his farmland to his son, Mr. DD Jr. Lagyan natin ng drawing niya kasi dami yun eh. DD Jr. Yan. After 4 years, Mr. DD Jr. died in an accident in the farmland and left the farmland to his first son, Mr. DD II. Third, DD III. Unfortunately, Mr. D.D. III also died on the farmland 3 years from his father's death. Since he was still single and does not have a child, the farmland was transferred to his sister, Miss E.E. Though fearful that the previous owners of the farmland were killed there, she held it for 6 years, after which she was found dead on the farmland's barn. The land was then inherited by her son, Mr. F.F., which later sold the same. Ayan, so parang horror story yung pinanggagalingan ng example number 3 natin, ano? Pero i-breakdown natin para malaman natin kung yung mga transfers ba na ito ay subject to vanishing deductions. So, yung original owner daw ay si DD. Tapos, nung namatay siya, ipinasa niya kay DD Jr. na anak niya. After 4 years, namatay daw si DD Jr. at naipasa yun kay DD III. Since yung property ni DD Jr., okay, ay na-inherit niya mula kay DD, at yung inheritance na yun ay within 4 years, okay, so itong pagpasa na ito, may VD sa part ni DD Jr. Now, namatay naman daw si DD III. Namatay din siya. Okay? 3 years mula nung sa pagkamatay nung kanyang tatay na si DD Jr. Okay, tapos ipinasa niya yon kay EE. Yung transfer mula kay DD III, okay, papunta kay EE, ay walang VD. None. Okay? Why? Dahil even though 3 years mula nung na-inherit niya yung property mula kay DD Jr., nag-claim naman si DD Jr. ng BD sa kanyang estate. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kahit na within 5 years, pero nag-claim si DD Jr. sa pinanggalingan ng vanishing deductions, hindi na rin pwedeng mag-claim si DD III. Now, si EE naman, okay, namatay din siya. Okay, after 6 years mula na makuha niya yung farmland. Tapos, pinasa niya kay FF. Dito, sa case na ito, hindi siya pwede mag-claim ng vanishing deduction. 6 years 5 years lang yung ating limit. Okay? So, dito, hindi siya pwede dahil 6 years. Pero, halimbawa, maging 4 years yan, pwede. Bakit? Kasi, nung nagpasa mula kay DD III, wala itong vanishing deductions Kaya pwede kung 4 years or 5 years or below to. Kaso, in this case nga, 6 years. Kaya yung pagpasa mula kay EE to FF, walang vanishing deductions na mag-claim si EE. Again, okay, balikan natin. Nung namatay si DD Jr., sa estate niya, meron siyang vanishing deductions. Kasi within 4 years, natanggap niya yung property from kanyang tatay na si DD. Nung si DD III naman ang namatay, even though within 3 years mula nung na-inherit niya, hindi na siya pwede mag-claim ng vanishing deductions dahil nag-claim na yung kanyang tatay na si DD Jr. And si Miss EE naman, nung namatay si Miss EE, hindi siya pwede mag-claim ng vanishing deductions doon sa property na inherit dahil 6 years na mula from the time of inheritance siya namatay, greater than 5 years na. And for our last example, Mr. Gigi inherited a sports car and a house and lot from his father, who died. Both the properties were on the UK, where his father often went to have a vacation. To avoid the memories of his father's death, he immediately left UK and went back to the Philippines, where he resides, and brought the sports car. Unfortunately, he died in a car crash accident 1 year after his father's death using the same sports car he inherited. Dito sa example naman na ito, okay, dalawang properties yung na kanyang na-inherit. Una, yung sports car, at pangalawa yung house and lot. However, syempre, house and lot, di mo naman maililipat sa Pilipinas yan. Yung sports car lang ang kanyang nadala sa Pilipinas. Yan. Tapos within 1 year daw, namatay din si Mr. Gigi. Okay, so for this example, both with VT and both non with VT. Doon sa house and lot, okay, walang makiklaim na vanishing deductions dahil properties yan overseas. Ito namang sports car, at the time of death nasa Pilipinas, makakaklaim siya ng vanishing deductions. Ngayong alam mo na kung ano-ano yung mga properties na pwedeng lagyan ng vanishing deductions, magpunta na tayo sa formula ng vanishing deductions. Okay? So, first line item natin ay yung property previously taxed. Ito yung properties na na-inherit ni decedent. Okay? Tapos, next line item natin yung payments by current decedent. Ang ibig sabihin niyan ay ito. Kapag si decedent kasi, nung na-inherit niya, yung property na yun, pwede siyang mag-assume ng any liability related sa property na yun. For example, nag-inherit ng land. Okay? Tapos, yung land na yun may kasamang mortgage, say 300,000 pesos. Noong time na na-inherit niya yun, meron siyang obligation sa 300,000 pesos. And through time, babayaran niya yun. Kung magkano yung nabayaran ng current decedent natin doon sa mortgage na inassume niya sa properties na na-inherit or na-donate sa kanya, ibabawas natin yun dito. Okay? Again, yung mga payments lang na nagawa. Okay? Doon sa outstanding obligations related to that party. Payments lang na nabayaran. Pag na-deduct mo na yung mga payments na nagawa with respect to the property doon sa property previously taxed, makukuha mo na yung initial basis. Okay? Tinawag siyang initial basis kasi yung initial basis na yan ay gagamitin to arrive doon sa proportionate deductions. Pagkuha ng proportionate deductions. Yung proportionate deductions na yun, ibabawas natin sa initial basis to arrive at the final basis. Itong final basis naman, dito magbabase, okay, kung saan mo i-apply yung vanishing deduction rate to arrive doon sa vanishing deductions. Okay? Ito lang dito sa formula na to, ito lang yung item na makikita natin doon sa pagko-compute ng estate tax. Okay, so yung proportionate deductions na yon, ito yung ibig sabihin yan. Okay? Naalala mo, ito yung initial basis na kinompute natin doon sa formula. Okay? Initial basis daw, i-divide mo by gross estate. Okay? Gross estate. I-multiply mo siya doon sa allowed deductions. At yung allowed deductions na ito yung total nitong mga to. Okay? Yan yung total niya. Yung claims against the estate, claims against insolvent persons, unpaid mortgages, taxes, and casualty losses at transfers for public use. Again, yung proportionate deductions, initial basis, nakuha mo na dun kanina, over yung gross estate, decedent, times yung total nitong apat na ito, which is yung ito, okay, to arrive at the proportionate deductions. At ito naman yung percentage, okay, pertaining sa vanishing deductions. Kapag ka daw yung property ni decedent, okay, ay na-receive niya 1 year bago siya namatay, yung rate na gagamitin mo dun is 100%. Kapag yun ay na-receive more than 1 year to 2 years bago siya namatay, 80%. Kapag ka naman daw more than 2 years to 3 years, 60%. Pagka naman daw more than 3 years to 4 years, 40%. Kapag ka naman daw more than 4 years to 5 years, 20%. At syempre, more than 5 years, 0% kasi hindi na nga allowed yun doon. So, yan lang yun, definition ng vanishing deductions. Kaya siya tinawag na vanishing deductions dahil patagal ng patagal, nawawala, nagva-vanish. Sir, hindi ko pa rin maintindihan, sir. Sabi ko sa iyo medyo complicated yan lalo na sa first encounter mo. Don't worry, maglalagay tayo ng example dyan para mas maintindihan mo ang konsepto ng vanishing deductions. Ito yung sample problem natin para sa vanishing deductions. Mr. H.H., a single Filipino, died in a car crash accident. After consolidating his properties, his accountant computed a total gross estate of 15 million pesos. Of this amount, this includes a land with a fair market value of 3 million. This land was inherited from his father who died 2 years and 7 months prior to H.H.'s death, and at the time was valued at 2.7 million pesos. A mortgage on the land was also shouldered by H.H., which at the time of his death was now only 300,000 from the original amount of 500,000. Of HH deductions, those allowed are 1. Claims against insolvent persons of 300,000 pesos. 2. Claims against the estate of 700,000 pesos, already including that of the 300,000 balance on the land's mortgage. And 3. A transfer for public use of 500,000 pesos. Yan, so yan yung problem natin. Kung masyadong ma-intimidate sa problem, isa-isahin natin yan. Yan, so isa-isahin natin yung line items doon sa formula ng vanishing deductions para hindi ka masyadong mamigla. Okay, unang line item natin doon ay yung property previously taxed. Itong item na to ay nagpo-pertain doon sa property kung saan magki-claim tayo ng vanishing deductions. At yung rule dito, okay, sa paglalagay ng amount dito sa property previously taxed ay ito. Ang amount na dapat mong ilalagay dyan ay yung lower. Yung lower noong property, una, doon sa time na na-inherit yon ni decedent, at pangalawa, doon sa time of death ni decedent. Base dito sa example natin, okay, yung fair market value daw at time of decedent's death, yung current decedent's death ay 3 million. Oops, masyadong malaki. Wait lang ha. Reduce lang natin. Yan, 3 million daw. Pero nung na-acquire niya yon, nung na-inherit niya yon 2 years and 7 months before his death, that is only 2.7 million pesos. Okay? Natatandaan mo yung sinasabi ko? Kapag ka with regards doon sa mga deductions, okay, na magbe-benefit yung taxpayer, laging ang rule doon whichever is lower. Kaya dito sa case na to, ang amount na ilalagay natin as property previously taxed ay yung lower nung dalawang amount na to, which in this case is 2.7 million pesos. So yan, 2.7 million pesos. Next naman ay yung payments by current decedent. Again, sabi nga natin, pwede na nung na-inherit ng isang tao yung properties na yon, may kasamang mga obligations attached to that property. And in this case, nung na-inherit ng current decedent yung property, meron pagkakautang totaling 500,000 pesos. Okay? Tapos, nung time of death daw, yung utang na yon ay 300,000 pesos na lang. Ibig sabihin, nung na-inherit yon nung ating current decedent hanggang dun sa time ng pagkamatay niya, ang total na nabayaran niya doon ay 200,000 pesos na. Ito yung payments by current decedent. Ayun ay isusubtract natin yung payments by current decedent doon sa property previously taxed na amount to arrive at our initial basis na 2.5 million pesos. Ito yon. And then, compute na natin yung mga proportionate deductions. Again, ang ating formula dyan ay ito. Initial basis over yung gross estate times yung mga allowed deductions, yung 4. Okay? In this case, yung ating initial basis ay ito, 2.5 million pesos. Ang sabi sa problem, given na ang gross estate daw niya ay 15 million pesos. Yan. Tapos, itong 1.5 million na ito yung mga allowed deductions na broken down. Ito yon, yung claims against insolvent persons na 300,000, claims against the estate na 700,000, at yung transfers for public use daw na 500,000, totaling 1.5 million. So, para sa ating proportionate deductions, 2.5 million over 15 million times 1.5 million is equals to 250,000. Okay? Itong 250,000 na to ay i-deduct natin sa initial basis. So, 2.5 million pesos, okay, minus 250,000 pesos is equals to 2,250,000 pesos. Ito na yung final basis natin. Okay? Sa wakas, yun na yung final basis natin para sa isang single deduction, no? Dun sa estate tax return. Ang haba-haba ng computation. Now, balikan natin yung problem. Okay? Kailan daw before decedent's death, our current decedent's death, natanggap na yung property na yon? 2 years and 7 months. 2 years and 7 months. Punta na tayo sa table. Balikan natin yung table. Yan, ito yung table. 2 years daw and 7 months. Saan papatak yun? Dito. Okay, dito. So, for our problem, our VD rate is 60%. So, yan. 60%. I-multiply lang natin yung final basis doon sa VD rate natin na 60% to arrive doon sa vanishing deductions na 1.35 million pesos. So, ayan. Sobrang haba, di ba? Sabi ko sa iyo it requires special attention, vanishing deductions. Para sa isang line item doon sa estate tax, okay, sa pagko-compute ng estate tax, para dito sa item na ito, lahat ng yan pagdadaanan. Okay?